Make Walters your spot for this NFL season. All indoor TVs are preset and are first come, first serve. They're proud to show every NFL game every week.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Here's the pitch to Carson Kelly, drilled to deep left field. This one way out of here. Gone goodbye. His second home run of the day. And Carson Kelly has given the Cubs a cushion, a 2-run lead. Palencia kicks, and he fires, and Hassell drives it in the air to left center field. This is deep, this is way back, and this ball is gone goodbye. Into the first row of the bleachers in left center, just to the left of the 368-foot marker. It's already been thrown back out onto the field. Robert Hassell III has his 3rd home run of the year, and his 15th run batted in brings the Nationals to within a run. A leadoff homer in the 9th inning. And now the top of the order coming up. It's the Cubs 3 and the Nationals 2. Here's the set, the pitch. Swing and a high fly ball to deep left center field. Way back onto the warning track. O'Connor leaps. He can't get it. It's in the basket. It's over the fence. It's gone. Goodbye. It's a pinch hit. 3-run home run for Josh Bell. Bang! Zoom goes Bell with a blast. A soaring high fly ball in the air for a long time at 109 miles an hour off his bat. And the Nationals with a 4-run top of the 9th inning. 2 home runs off Palencia. It's now the Nationals 5 and the Cubs 3.
Hello and welcome. Don't be alarmed. You are listening to the correct podcast. I'm Tim Shovers, in for Al Galdi, who is merely receiving a well-deserved and overdue day off from the Nats Chat podcast. I will have the pleasure of sharing with you how the Nats staged a dramatic 9th inning comeback win past the Cubs on Sunday afternoon in Chicago. But for those like Al who were thrilled to see the Commanders' 21-6 Week 1 victory over the New York Football Giants, the Al Galdi podcast has you covered for that all football season long. But to baseball, we bring in Mark Zuckerman live from Wrigley Field on the north side of Chicago to talk about the Nationals' 5th win in the past 6 games. A heck of a start to September. Mark, it's a bizarro day here, top to bottom on the Nats Chat podcast. The Nats did it. They had a 9th inning rally that was successful. They not only pulled it off, but hit 2 homers and scored 5 runs in the process.
The only thing more stunning, Tim, than the Nationals' 5-run rally in the 9th is the fact that you got Al to take a day off for the first time all year. On the day after they celebrated Cal Ripken's 21-31 anniversary at Camden Yards, our own Iron Man finally sat. I'm not going to compare you to Ryan Miner because I think you're better than Ryan Miner. And we know you don't take any days off because you edit every single episode of this show, even if you don't appear on it. But little did Al know what he was going to miss, because this was one of the best games of the year, as it turned out, even though for 8 innings, it looked like one of the worst games of the year. They did nothing offensively for 8 innings and gave no reason to think that they had a rally in them. And then they flipped the switch in the 9th and hit the ball really hard, took down the Cubs closer, and put together really a stunning rally to come back and win a weekend series against a team that's going to the playoffs and improved to 5-1 in September. I know the stakes aren't as high as they've maybe been in the past, but this felt like a big deal for them to do that in this ballpark against that team. Good for the Nats for pulling this one out.
So it's 3-1 entering the ninth inning. Robert Hassell III hits a home run to make it 3-2. Couple guys get on. Josh Bell pinch hits for Riley Adams in the third spot. Bell, 3-run homer, arguably the most dramatic homer of the season for the Washington Nationals, puts them up 5-3. They eventually win 6-3. What did you think was going to happen with the third spot in the order? Who did you think was going to hit? Bell, Riley Adams, or someone else?
I mean, I wasn't necessarily thinking that far ahead, but as soon as I saw Bell in the on-deck circle, I thought to myself, okay, yes, that makes sense. He's been sitting all day, waiting for the right spot to use him. I liked that usage of him. We know he can connect on fastballs. That's what Daniel Palencia, the Cubs closer, throws. And I really thought it was interesting. Both Bell and Robert Hassell, who we talked about for the game, were saying this, that they knew the scouting report on Palencia is this guy throws 101. And he throws a fastball 70% of the time. So even though in the back of your mind, you're like, well, I need to watch for the slider, watch for the changeup. They said, no, stick with the fastball. You're going to get it at some point. Be ready for it. You can't look for something else and then catch up to 101 mile an hour fastball. And so what did they do? They were ready for it. Bell said specifically, he was looking for it down in the zone. He knows he's been hitting too many ground balls lately. He really tried to stay underneath it and hit it in the air. And after the first 2 days of the weekend, the wind at Wrigley's blowing out to right, and it shifted here for the finale. It's now blowing in from left. Not a ton, but just enough to leave a little doubt in your mind. And so Bell said off the bat, he knew he hit it well, but he saw the center fielder going back to the wall, and he had a split second where he thought, oh no, is this not going to make it? And then it lands in the basket above the ivy. And you saw the reaction from Bell. That was genuine emotion from him. As you said, probably his biggest hit of the season. That meant something to him to pull that off. But it was just great to see they went into that inning, the whole team, with an approach that they wanted to implement against the Cubs closer, and they executed it. And why they couldn't do that for 8 innings against the other guys, I have no idea. But this team does have something about the ninth. They've scored the most ninth inning runs in baseball. And that sounds counterintuitive because you're facing the other team's best pitcher usually, but they are a good fastball hitting team. And so they get in those spots and they say, let's gear up for 99, 100, and we can handle it. They've shown this now. I mean, there are a lot of other flaws with this team, but for whatever reason, they are very comfortable coming from behind in the ninth inning.
You don't see as many pitch hitters these days without, now that we have a DH. And so I was sort of surprised to see a pinch hitter come in there. I felt like a little bit of a throwback to older baseball when you had more double switches. But also in that inning, Mark, was Daylen Lile scored. Not only scored, he tripled. Here was Lyle's afternoon, and you talked about his now dark horse NL Rookie of the Year candidacy in our previous episode. The surging Daylen Lile was in the cleanup spot, singled in the fifth that turned into the Nats' lone run until that ninth inning rally. He triples in the ninth, his third triple of the weekend, by the way, and he scored Washington's final insurance run. Is it fair to say that he's the best player on the team right now?
I mean, he's hitting like it right now. He's been their most consistent offensive performer here for several weeks. It's been such a treat to watch the development of Lile from where he was when he first got here. Remember, he had some moments during that first stint, especially out west, and then it kind of lost it. And they sent him back down, and the idea was, hey, you're not actually ready for this yet. Go work on some stuff. Well, he did, and he came back, and he's been a much better hitter, much more consistent hitter. When he makes good contact and hits the ball down the lines or in the gaps, he can use his speed to his advantage. He's going to be a triples machine. He's got 8 of them now on the season, which is no small feat for a guy who's only played, about half the season in the big leagues. We know he's got the pop to hit home runs, runs the bases well. If he can clean up the defense, and I think he's been better in that regard lately, there's really an opportunity for him here. And it's been a real treat, I think, for everyone with the organization to see this happen as not the most touted of their outfield prospects, but a guy who for years has been on everyone's radar because of how he plays the game hard, how he hits, how he packs a lot of punch in that small body of his. There's a lot of excitement here. He's still young and still learning. There's still room for growth, which is an exciting prospect when you consider how good he's already looked at this point.
I listened to Cubs radio for most of the game. They were impressed by Lile, and it got me thinking, Daylen Lile, opening day, which will be in Wrigley Field next year in late March in 2026. Lile in the opening day lineup for the Nats. Put it in pen or pencil?
That's a good one. I'm going to put it in pen. I mean, the qualifier is we don't know who's making those decisions yet, and there could be some dramatic changes for all we know. But if any part of the current administration is still in place, I'm going to say, yeah, he is a part of the lineup in some capacity, wherever that may be. It could be the DH. It could be in right field, maybe in left field if James Wood was DHing. Yeah, I think he has established now that he is one of the guys. Maybe not every day, but one of the guys. I will say this. I've been at Wrigley a few times before on opening day, once when the Nats played here in 2012 and once in college when I went to Northwestern. The wind is not going to be your friend on that day. It's going to be blowing in off the lake. It's going to be in the 40s. If you're Daylen Lile, don't try to hit the ball out of the park. Anybody else in this lineup, don't try to hit the ball out of the park on that day. Try to hit it down the lines and use your speed to your advantage because it's going to be cold and windy, I'm sure, on that day, opening day 2026.
There should be no March baseball in Wrigley Field, but that's a different topic for a different day. Marco, along with the lineup, Brady House got the start at third all weekend. Pair of sac flies on Sunday, hitting in the 7th spot. We've discussed so much of this podcast about his lack of playing time recently. I want to focus on his sac fly in the 5th that scored Lile. The Nationals caught bad Wrigley Field luck on the preceding play when the ball got lost in the ivy and Lile was sent back to third on what became a ground rule double for Luis Garcia Jr. So now House comes up, trailing 1-0, runners at second and third, 1 out, and the first opportunity of any kind so far to score a run in the 5th. House comes through with an inside-out swing to push a fly out deep enough to score Lile. I thought it was a veteran piece of hitting from the rookie. Mark, did you have any similar takeaways from House's play this weekend?
Yeah, it was a good at-bat. Number one, glad to see him in the lineup for 3 straight days. I'm sure Al is regretting the fact that he didn't get to watch this one because he's been leading the charge, calling for House to be in the lineup every day instead of Paul DeJong. I was glad to see that and glad to see the quality of the at-bats. And I think that is some maturation from him, not feeling like he's got to pull the ball and hit it out. You know, he homered the other day at home, and I was asking him about that, and he immediately turned to, you don't try to hit home runs. You've got to try to put the ball in play, especially when you got runners in scoring position, hit the ball up the middle to the opposite field. He's really bought in, I think, to that mindset, and that's great. And you saw it twice in this game. The first one, I think, was more significant because of the circumstances, you know, that put them in that position where it looked like they were going to get screwed out of a run because of a ball that got stuck for just a split second in the ivy before it fell out. So good on him for coming through there, and then good on him for the other sac fly in the 9th to bring across the tack-on run. Want to see more of that from him? You still want to see the power. We know that it's in there, but if they're not giving it to you, if they're going to keep pitching you away, that inside-out swing, get the runner home, that's a really good job by him.
Paul DeJong didn't play all weekend, and House did. That, to me, will be the first thing I look at when Monday's lineup is posted in Miami.
Hey, a great supporter of the Nats Chat podcast for years now has been Window Nation. If you want new windows, if you need new windows, contact Window Nation. Tell Window Nation that Al Galdi from the Nats Chat podcast sent you. That helps out this podcast a lot, and that gets you a great deal on great Window Nation windows. In fact, now is the best time of year to get new windows. Whether you have old, drafty windows or cheap builder-grade windows, September is the perfect month to protect your home from cooler weather. And right now, Window Nation is offering its most popular offer: buy 2 replacement windows, get 2 for free. Plus, you won't pay any interest, pay any monthly payments, or pay any down payment for 2 years. 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. With Window Nation, you get top quality windows from a trusted company, all at a reasonable price, because Window Nation knows that replacing windows is an investment, and Window Nation wants to make the investment affordable to you. And do not miss this great offer from Window Nation. For listeners of the Nats Chat podcast, the offer is good until September 30th. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and you pay nothing for 2 years. 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. And tell Window Nation that Al Galdi from the Nats Chat podcast sent you.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, blue label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnyWalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.
Let's be honest. Shopping, not my thing. I go to the store. There's a lot of people there. It's just not my thing. It's not football. All right. I spend way too long scrolling websites just looking for something simple like a nice pair of jeans. And I'm either overwhelmed by all the choices or can't find anything my style and end up with stuff that doesn't fit and doesn't work. That's why I use Stitch Fix. You just take a quick style quiz, share your size, your vibe, and your budget, and boom, you're matched with a real human stylists who handle the rest. They take care of the work for you. They send you a fix box with clothes that actually fit and make sense for your life, work, weekends, whatever. It saves you time. You look great, and you don't even have to think about it. That's the best part. It's no risk, all style. Try it all on in the comfort of your home. Keep what works, send back the rest. Free shipping and returns, always, and no subscription required. Plus, get a free try-on for your first fix. Get started today at stitchfix.com/podcast to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/podcast.
They're in at the corners, back at second and short. Ray delivers to Brady House, who skies one to right field deep. Suzuki going back, has a play, shy of the track, makes the catch for the out. Tagging from third is Lile. He comes in to score. Garcia to third without a play. And the Nationals have tied the game here on the sacrifice fly. A run batted in for Brady House, his 26th of the year. And with two out and a runner at third here in the top of the fifth, it's now the Nationals 1 and the Cubs 1.
Andrew Alvarez's second big league start of the week came on Sunday for the Nats. Life comes at you fast. Less than a month ago, Alvarez took the mound in Norfolk, Virginia, and today he's toeing the rubber in Wrigley Field against a Cubs team firmly fighting for a playoff spot. Alvarez tossed 4 2/3 innings, charged with 2 runs. Through 4 innings, only allowed a solo homer by Carson Kelly, but in the 5th, he walked the number 9 hitter Kevin Alcantara. Then the top of the lineup came up for a third time. Bit of a Mike Soroka situation. Nico Horner doubled, and a few batters later, it was time for the bullpen. Mark, what were your takeaways from the lefty in start number 2?
Not as good as the first one, but let's be clear, this was a much tougher assignment. Cubs lineup versus Marlins lineup, Wrigley Field versus Nats Park. So I was not expecting greatness from him in this one, if we're being honest about that. But I thought it was good to see that he still got out of that with minimal damage. He was most upset about those back-to-back walks in the second. That drove up his pitch count. It really prevented him from having a good shot at going deeper in the game. But he limited the damage. He got out of that inning without anything else, stranded a runner in scoring position in the third. And then he gets to the 5th, and yeah, it was the walk to the number 9 hitter and then the double. But he did come through in a big spot before he was pulled. He got the ground ball out of Ian Happ to short, drawn in infield, play at the plate. Good tag by Riley Adams. The Cubs challenged it, and there was that little bit of a second where you're wondering, are they going to get this thing overturned, saying that he was blocking the plate or that he somehow got the foot underneath? It didn't look like there was anything conclusive on that front. So that was a big out for him. And then Cairo goes to the bullpen, and it ends up the inherited runner. So in theory, Alvarez really only had to give up 1 run. He was charged with 2. 2 starts in, given his pedigree, his resume, excellent stuff. 2 runs in 9 2/3 innings. You take that. He's looked calm and poised. You got to keep the ball in the strike zone. His next start should now come against the Pirates, so a little better matchup potentially for him than facing the Cubs. But all things considered, I think you have to be pleased with what he has done in his first 2 starts as a guy who did not come in here with a significant pedigree, like a Cade Cavalli, anything like that. So good job. And he looks the part. He's looked comfortable up here, which I think is the best thing you can say about it.
So no questions asked. He's next time up in the rotation on Friday. He's taking them out against the Pirates.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything different at this point based on what we've seen. If he has a blow-up start or 2, but, really we're getting close to the end anyways. And I think as long as it's not just really ugly with him, I think he'll probably make these starts the rest of the season. Well, I should qualify that by saying if Mackenzie Gore comes back, and the good news is he is throwing. I don't think he's been off a mound yet, so there's still a chance at that maybe that could interfere with Alvarez. But hey, you keep pitching like this, they'll find a way to keep you in the rotation the rest of the way.
The bullpen yet again came through. Only one run allowed in just over 4 innings of work. Mason Thompson gave up the other Carson Kelly homer in the 8th, but Clayton Beeter yet again stepped up, recorded 4 outs. It kept the game from getting away from Washington in the 5th. Beeter came over in the Amed Rosario trade with the Yankees in late July, and man, has he been lights out recently. Hasn't given up a run since August 15th. Mark, we have to give Mike DiBartolo his flowers on this particular trade.
Yeah, that's worked out very well. Now, I do have to say, Beeter finally gave up his first hit. He had the 9-inning pseudo no-hitter going across like 9 appearances. And he finally gave up his first hit, and it did score a run, the inherited runner. But he did a great job bouncing back from that. Struck out Kelly with 2 runners in scoring position to get out of that inning, and then 1, 2, 3 in the 6th with 2 more strikeouts. He's got stuff. You can see that, and the strikeout totals are high. The only issue with him is walks. It was 7 walks across those 9 hitless innings, like an Edwin Jackson special from him. If he can just keep the ball in the zone a little more frequency, the stuff is good enough that he's not going to give up a lot of hits. So there is some potential there from him. And if you end up getting a quality reliever for, 2 months of Amed Rosario, who we know didn't have a future here in DC, that's a great pickup. That's the way the trade deadline is supposed to work for a team that's out of contention. Flip a veteran for somebody who can help you in the longer run, and not somebody who's still at single A, but somebody who was almost ready to be in the big leagues for you and now could be a part of this for many years to come.
And it's paying dividends here in early September. Jackson Rutledge tossed a scoreless bottom of the 7th, even though his ERA is still very high at 5.37. All of a sudden, and you and Al have been talking about this, Jackson Rutledge hasn't given up a run in a while and is pitching much better. Even though he has Grizzly numbers and we don't know who's running things come the offseason, is it looking like Jackson Rutledge is pitching his way back to camp, at least in West Palm next March?
Well, he's at least quelled those thoughts of him finishing out the year with the team and them just giving up on him in the offseason. You hope he can keep it up. It's been a pleasant development. It really had been an ugly season for him to date. He has pitched a lot better. You could bring him back to camp. I think by next year he may be out of options. And so that might put them in a spot where he either has to make the team or be DFA'd at that point. He's still got a lot to prove. He has not been what they hoped he would be, and not even really a long reliever. I think the thought was that he could be a long reliever for them. That hasn't been his role. It's mostly been 1 inning. A few times he's gone multiple innings. So we'll see. But what looked like an awful season from him, he is at least salvaging it here. And as you said, that could, if nothing else, ensure that he at least comes to spring training next year.
The Cubs used an opener today in the top of the 1st with lefty Drew Pomeranz. He tossed a 1-2-3 first inning and handed off to Colin Ray. We talked about maybe trying an opener to help out Jake Irvin on a recent edition of the podcast. What did you think when you saw a more successful team seamlessly and tactically used an opener on Sunday?
Well, here's the thing. The Cubs have the pitching depth to do that. Pomeranz is a good veteran lefty, and it makes sense to use that against the top of the Nats lineup against Abrams and Wood. And at the time, we're saying, well, okay, did you just burn him up and maybe you're going to need him again later in the game? Well, no. They got a guy, Caleb Thielbar, who they were able to bring in to face the lefty hitters later in the game. So they had the depth to do it. Now, it didn't work in the 9th, of course, with the right-hander that they put out there, their closer, who wound up leaving, by the way, with some shoulder soreness. The Cubs executed this very well, and I'm sure everyone's going to look at this and say, why can't the Nats do the same thing? And I'm not opposed to them trying it with Mitchell Parker and or Jake Irvin, given their first inning struggles. But the difference is you've got to have the pitching depth to be able to pull that off, to burn up a guy in the first inning, knowing he's somebody who you would normally want in a high leverage spot later in the game. And then the second part of the equation is, do we really know that the issue is just the first inning for Irvin and Parker? Or if they took the mound in the second inning, would it still go horribly wrong for them? Because in their mind, that's their first inning. So the benefit is you avoid maybe the other team's top 3 hitters at the top of the lineup. So that could make the difference. But I caution people against just saying that's a slam dunk that it would work here. You need the right pitchers to do it. And you need to know that the guy who's being opened for can come out in the second inning and pitch well and isn't still dealing with the same quote unquote first inning struggles that they normally have.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
The set for Gray. His first pitch is knobbed off the end of the bat. Third base side. Kieboom cuts it off to his left. Fires to first in the inning over. Josiah Gray with a fist pump as he departs the mound. He works out of his first big-time jam. First and second, no outs. The Phillies do not score.
Josiah Gray made his long-awaited first rehab assignment today for High-A Wilmington, pitched just over an inning, threw 34 pitches, 1 strikeout, and 0 walks. What's next for Gray?
Another one of these, he should build up, should be 3 innings, maybe somewhere around 45 to 50 pitches. I think the next one's going to be at Harrisburg. I don't know if that's official yet or not. I watched that start from him online, the webcast of it. I didn't get any radar reading, so I don't know how hard he was throwing. The first inning was really good, strikeout and 2 flyouts. Second inning kind of lost the command, a couple of walks, a hit by pitch. It seemed like he was throwing everything in his arsenal, and it seemed like his breaking ball command especially was somewhat off in that second inning. He got a few chases on it. You're not going to get big league hitters to chase that. You know what, though? Results mean nothing in this one. It's the fact that he threw 34 pitches in a competitive baseball game, and as far as we know, came out of it healthy and did that for the first time in about 14 months. That's a big deal. So glad to see it. I can only imagine what his emotions were, coming off the mound and getting to experience that again for the first time in so long. And now, can you do it again in 5 days? Feel good about it. If he can, there's a shot that we see him in DC before the end of the season. If it doesn't happen, not the end of the world. Doesn't mean that there was some kind of failed rehab process, anything like that. The number one goal with him, get through the rest of the season, having pitched some, confident that your arm is healthy, and then he can go have a normal offseason, not a rehab offseason, come to spring training and show that he's ready to be part of the rotation again next year.
1 week left in the Harrisburg season, 2 weeks left in the Rochester season, 3 weeks left in the national season. The final weekend of the Nats season is end of September at home against the White Sox. Will Gray take the mound that weekend for at least 1 inning? My hunch is yes. What's your gut feel?
If everything goes well between now and then, I think there is the possibility of that. Now, it's an interesting thing because in the past, you had the 40-man rosters in September, and you could bring a guy up, and it wouldn't be a big deal if he could only go a couple of innings. Now, keep in mind, now they're only at 28. And so if you're going to do that, somebody has to go. You have to drop somebody from the roster. And they could, at that point, decide that like a Jake Irvin or Mitchell Parker is done for the year and, technically option them to AAA. I think they did that with DJ Hers at the end of last season once he made his final start. So they could do something like that. But you also have to somehow come together with the innings. So if he's only capable of going 1 or 2, I don't know if that's what you want to do. If he can go 3 or 4, maybe a different story. Let's see how these next ones go. I think they're open to the idea, but don't necessarily feel like they have to do it. It would be a nice bonus if he can. It would bring a lot of peace of mind to him. And again, I can only imagine what that would feel like for him to pitch in a big league game before the end of the season.
Next up for the Nats, 4 games in Miami. Mark will be headed down to South Florida. All-night game, sort of the anti-Wrigley Field after we get 3-day games in Chicago. Last thing, Mark, it was Hall of Fame weekend for the Cubs this weekend. Derek Lee and Sammy Sosa were inducted. A busy weekend, of course, in Chicago. So a lot of longtime baseball guys. Just give me, you and Al did a great job talking about Davey Johnson in our previous episode. But kind of what was just the overall tenor of the press box conversation about Davey this weekend?
Yeah, it's funny. There aren't that many people left who really got to know him because it's been a while. But I think those who have, the broadcasters, Charlie and Dave on the radio, Bob Carpenter, of course, Dan Kolko was a young reporter covering Davey as a writer before he even became a broadcaster. We all had a lot of really nice memories of him and remembering how he just had that combination of really smart X's and O's in-game managing while also having the people skills to work with a clubhouse full of all kinds of different personalities. It's such a rare combination. Who was actually at Wrigley today for the Sammy Sosa ceremony, and it was appropriate that he was here because of the Davey Johnson news? Jim Riggleman was here. He was Sammy Sosa's manager in 98 for that big, 60-plus home run season from him. And so he came out to support him. A little poetic, I think, that, if not for Jim Riggleman's stunning resignation from the Nationals after a walk-off win, Davey Johnson never gets that opportunity. One other thing, and I didn't remember this when we were recording the show yesterday, and as I went back and was reading up a little bit more about Davey and trying to remember some things, and I used it in my retrospective piece that I published on Sunday morning on MASNsports.com. Davey Johnson, was born and raised as a young child in Orlando. You know who had spring training in Orlando back in those days? The Washington Senators. And Davey was actually a bat boy for the Senators in spring training. And while it wasn't necessarily his favorite team or anything like that growing up, he did feel a connection to them. That was the beginning of his baseball life. And I went back and found, and I had forgotten this, that he brought that up after his final game managing the Nationals in 2013, that his baseball life had come full circle. It started as a bat boy at Tinker Field in Orlando for the Senators, and it ended as the manager of a completely different Washington major league team. As we'd said, he didn't need to take that job. His career credentials were well established at that point, but he wanted the chance to help another team become better, which he absolutely did. And there was a certain personal connection for him to have that come full circle and complete his career managing a team from Washington, the team that he grew up watching in spring training in Orlando, Florida.
After he passed away, I composed a tweet, and when I realized it was very similar to what you wrote, so I didn't want to steal your thunder. But my main perspective of Davey Johnson here was I knew of the Expos growing up in an NL East city. I still thought of the Nats as the Expos in their first few years here. But when Davey Johnson came here and Steven Strasburg was on the team and you knew Bryce Harper was on his way and you saw some pieces, he did bring instant credibility there. The organization was totally different. It didn't start opening day 2012. It started in the summer of 2011. And that's what I'll always remember from Davey Johnson.
I think that's a good way to look at it, that, nothing against the managers who had been here prior to that point. But when they did bring in Davey Johnson, it was them saying, we are ready to win now. We're bringing in the guy who takes teams to that next level. This isn't a temporary thing. This is the guy who we think can help this team win. And he absolutely did it, turning an 80-win team in 11 into a 98-win team and division champion in 12.
We'll never know what would have happened in Game 162 against the Dodgers. Would they have finished 500 that year, Mark? 80 and 81. Right out. All right, a little too inside Nats there. That's going to do it. Nats Chat Podcast available on all the usual podcast platforms. Mark and Al back at it, fortunately, tomorrow when the Nats open their series in Miami. And we'll talk to you soon, everyone.
Pete Rose is 0 for 6 in the first two games of the World Series. He has drawn 2 walks and also reached in the first game when Ellie Hendricks, the catcher at that time, was charged with catcher's interference. Now defensively for Baltimore, Boog Powell will be at first base. And then around the infield, all are Golden Glovers. Davey Johnson at second base, Mark Belanger at shortstop, and Brooks Robinson, who has had a tremendous series, at third base.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.